Hello everyone, it's Elizabeth again, and I'm here in my art loft. I decided to make some new patterns to go on my gel prints. I haven't been doing gel printing for a little while, and I've really missed it. I did make some books out of the gel papers I had already made, and you can see those if you look through my channel. So anyway, I made these patterns. I had made some previously that were in this same shape, but I took one of those as a pattern and then cut them up so that they would be, each a different tile. And I didn't make them so that they all go together anymore necessarily. I just made interesting shapes on that tile as I cut it. And as a result, I have used two of these in the gel prints that I've made here. And I'll show you those. I've used this one and this one in these. And you can see this one is in the background here behind the butterflies. Now this print was the first print that I took off the plate in this gel print session, and I had put down a purple. I had used this particular stamp, and then I had put I think it was a blue next. Maybe I put the blue first. At any rate, there was a blue, and then the blue was second, and then the orange was third. I took the butterflies out of the blue and purple and put the orange butterflies in. Well, that didn't stay too well on the plate, and so I ended up, and then I put the gold to pick it all up. Well, the gold only picked up mainly the gold because I didn't leave it on there as long as I should have, and or I didn't press as hard as I should, or the paint wasn't as dry. And anyway, when you get back into it after you've been away from your gel plate for a little while, sometimes it takes a while to get back into it. Anyway, I like this for this edge here, but this is kind of bland over here. But this is the next print that I picked up with it, the same plate. You can see that the butterflies are in the same positions. You can see that this one's here, and so on. And we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 there, 1, 2, 3, 4 there. And this is I think a remnant leftovers from some previous print that was on the plate somehow. I thought I had cleaned my plate before I put it away, but I didn't actually put it away. I just had set it over to the side and was careful not to set anything on it. But anyway, I really like this print. I think it's got a lot going for it. You can see the pattern real easily in the background there, and then the butterflies. And I did pull it over the top of a gel print that had already had some blue on it. So that gives it the blue in behind there. I don't know that I would have gotten the blue that much had I not done that. But this has a lot of interest that you may not see because it's, in detail here. There's some sparklies here from the gold, and then you can see the blue in there in between, and the orange and the way that little pieces here and there. So this was the next one I pulled, and this is on a print that had already... That pretty much cleared my plate, so I started all over, and this one is on a print that had already had the swirl pattern on it, and it just basically picked up partial print. But I like the way that it works because it's got a lot of color interaction here, where you've got the browns and the blues all in there together, and this was the print that came up after that. It did not reflect much of the spirals, which it sometimes does, but I like this one because it's got my blue and orange. I call that orange. It's kind of a brick color together. I like these colors together, and I like the way it looks when it came up. I had used this butterfly here is left over from the previous prints, the first print, but then I had used the small butterflies on it, so it's kind of cool to have both of those on there at once. This was the next print, and I'm getting into some little bit different colors here. I do have the purple and the kind of a yellow, and then the green in with it. And this is because some of the other stuff was left on the plate. So much of the other stuff was left on the plate. Plus, I think this green is perhaps a little bit because of what was on this paper first. Is that a double print? No, I'm not sure if it is or not, to tell you the truth. It looks like it should be, because it actually looks like the purple was on the paper first. Yeah, this had a purple lace pattern on the paper, and then I printed the other stuff over it. And again, I used this pattern that you can see in the corner there. This one had a trellis kind of pattern on it, and you can see the trellis pattern. You can also see the butterflies if you get it in the light just right. You can't see it all necessarily at once because it is kind of the white kind of takes over if you look at it at an angle, and then the gold takes over if you look at it at another angle. And there's even a little bit of pinkish looking stuff here, which I think is due to the purple that was on the previous plate. There's the trellis that I used, and this has some of the little circles that I used when I used my cap to try to get the rest of the paint out of the jar. This one is printed over the top of a previous trellis pattern, and that probably came before the last one, or the last one. This one probably came first, and then that one second. I like this. I like the colors in this. We have some greens, we have some purple, we have the orange butterflies, and this one is using this pattern. You can see the basket. I think of it as a basket kind of weave pattern there, and you can see that in the center there. And this was printed on a plain sheet of paper. It just has the purple orange, and then it's got in this corner you can see some of the other pattern in it. I don't know if you can see that or not, the orange little leafy stuff in there, kind of very faintly in the background, which I like too. So that one's nice. Here's the next one of those, or actually this is probably previous to the other one. I forget which order I took them in. Yeah, I think this one might be previous. But this one had a kind of a starburst pattern with the like little leaves going out in each direction. You can see those in the background. And then, of course, when it picked up the stuff, it picked up more on, I mean, you get more of the oranges showing in the places that were between the leaf things here. So previously it had blue leaf pattern on it with virtually nothing in between it, and so when it picked up, it put the orange was there, but the orange doesn't show that much over the blue. It shows in between though. And you do of course have the butterflies again. This one's kind of a definite pattern piece, and this is the last one I'm showing you before I try to play a little more with some more of these patterns and make some more beautiful prints. I think this one turned out nice. Again, it's my blues and oranges that I really like. So that's what I've been doing. That was all yesterday, and hopefully we'll get some good ones today. So let's get started. I have left over on my plate some of the color that was left over from the last print that I took off of it, which I don't think that was the last one I showed you. In fact, I'm almost positive it's not. And this blue is almost out, so let's see if we can get another blue. I have rearranged my paints, and I'm trying to throw away ones that are no longer viable. And this one's not as dark. Navy blue, well, we'll use it, even though it's not necessarily as dark as we might want it. No, that'll work. That's a good color. We'll put that on there first. And put that back in there so that I have it. And my brayer is here. So we'll roll that out. Probably only get one print today, but that's all right. I mean, on the video, I'll do more after I'm finished with you guys, of course. And we'll try a different one of these patterns that I made. I do try to roll it out in a very smooth layer. I know a lot of people like it when it's not perfectly smooth. I just start with it like this, then I have more control over what I get. Although I do get lots of surprises, and I'm very happy with them. But I do have a little more control over what I get if I start with a smooth, nice smooth layer. Let me roll this off over here, and then we'll take off the patterns there. Okay, and lay that brayer there. Okay, I think I'm going to use this one, and I do have an acrylic acrylic block for it. It's a little bit bigger than the thing itself, but it kind of just sticks on there. This stuff is pretty good about sticking on if you get it just right. Sometimes it doesn't, or sometimes it comes loose too. Okay, so we'll see if that'll stay. Stay, baby, stay. Okay, and I like to start in the middle. We'll just start right here. And we'll stamp that all off over on my other. I think I'm going to do this one like this, so I get kind of an overall pattern to it. And they don't perfectly meet up, and that's perfectly okay because I'm just trying to get a background pattern for it. And the background pattern will be, won't show, well, I mean, it'll show, the background pattern will show, but it won't be like the butterflies. The butterflies will be my main attraction. And this is kind of wet paint, but it'll work. So each time I'm stamping off onto my waste sheet, that is my roll-off sheet or whatever you want to call it. And I've got my thumb in it too. Okay, and in this case we have, I think of this as kind of, that worked out real well. Let's see if I can get that back on there. Come on, stick to it, stick, stick, stick. It was not going to stick to it now. So I'm just going to have to work that by myself. Okay, let's put that there. I think of these as a goose shape, if you want to think of it that way, where this is the, you know, like the beak and then the flying goose. And so you can have these go like every other line. You can see these are all going one way, and these are all then going the other way. And it's a little more awkward to have to pick it up with your fingers, but we don't care. We'll just go with this. Go with the flow, as they say. And let's see, we want that one to go that direction. It's nicer if you can have it on the backing because it doesn't smudge as much when you're trying to pick it up then. Okay, one more here. And you don't get your fingers in it quite as much either. But this is making kind of a nice little basket weave, maybe pattern or netting pattern. This is not a regular, like square netting pattern. We need one here as well. We need one here. All the same. And I just got my finger way in it. Okay. Right there. I'm missing that edge. So we'll go back and see if we can get that edge right there. And right there. Okay, let's get one here. Okay, do we want one there? Wait a minute, that one's supposed to go, yeah. There we go. Then one here. And I'm getting my fingers all blue. But that'll live, I'll live. Okay. And not cleaning it off every time. Sometimes it won't pick up as much. But that's all right. We've got a little bit there picked up. When I'm doing a pattern with small pieces like this, I usually start in the middle like I did on this one, because if you start on the edge, then sometimes by the time you get to the other edge, it has dried up enough that you're not picking up much. So I usually start in the middle so you get the best impressions in the middle, because obviously that's going to be what you're going to use the most likely to use. I actually even kind of like it when it's partially there, because it gives you a different look. Scoot this over a little bit. Get one here on the edge. Get one there on the edge. And one there on the edge. And that looks pretty good. Let's do a little corner there. I don't know that we need one there, but let's do this. And then one there. Okay, so that's done, and the blue is just about dried out, so that's good. I probably will wash that before I use that again, and probably need to wash my fingers. Okay, so then we will put color over the top, which, you know, I like the orange and blue, so we'll probably go with an orange. So let's find my favorite orange. This one's a mixed one. I had the poppy orange, and then it was getting really low, so I threw in some transparent red and some, what was the yellow I used? This yellow here, the luscious lemon, and made a little bit more so I'd have more to use. Now, if your blue is dry, you won't get as much combination of the orange with the blue, making that lovely rust color. But if your blue is dry, I mean, if it isn't dry, then the paints will kind of mix together. And I've got a little booger there. We'll get rid of that. Come on. Sometimes they don't want to pick up. Okay, so you want to kind of spread your paint out before you start rolling so that you won't, and there it is. Some of that luscious lemon had not been mixed up very well in there. I have blue and orange finger. Again, I like to roll it out pretty evenly before I start stamping into it. And when you get this kind of thing, that's because when you put that paint down right there, it was wetter, so it re-wetted the blue more than it will elsewhere. And that is re-wetting the blue a lot because it was kind of a wet orange. Don't really like the lines in it, but sometimes you can't get rid of those. And you can see we have more blue right there and more orange showing here. Okay, so let me get rid of the rest of this, the excess on my roller. Okay, and now we will stamp off our butterflies in there. And this is what I was doing on my roll-off plate paper. So now I will take my butterflies. I like this big one here because it takes off a lot as it goes. It is still a little wet for doing that, but we'll go ahead and try. I'll try down here first, where it has this lucky kind of piece of stuff. And you can see we picked up the orange and not the blue there, so it did not re-wet it very much. Let's see if we can go back in that same spot and get a little bit more. Sometimes if you wait for a while and come back into it later, you can get a better impression out of that because it has dried enough that it will pick up better. When you have it really wet on the top layer, then you're usually only picking up the top layer of it. So I'm going to go back in here. May be too soon again, but we'll try it. Of course, you run the risk of getting a double butterfly there, and I don't know, sometimes I don't mind it, sometimes I really don't like it. Okay, let's just stamp a few more. And we'll pick up the orange on something else. Stamp this direction. Just to get a lot on there so that we will have a lot to pick up. And so when we get ready to use this piece of paper, it will work out really well. We're at 20 minutes now. So we'll try to pull this print before our time's up. We are getting kind of a muddied color there. I am going to take off a little more on this one. So I need to try to put it down the same spot. Got a little more off of that. Stamp that there. And let's take off a little more on. We'll go ahead and take it off this one. We'll leave the rest of those as they are. That looks nice. Okay, so I'm going to pull this print on a print that's already has some stuff on it, because I think it's going to pick up mostly the orange. And then after I do that, then I will pull it, will use my gold and pick it up with the, pick the rest of it up with a clean sheet of paper. But we'll see, maybe this will pick everything up. Okay, so I got a partial print on that, and that's rather nice actually, with the white that was in there behind it. And you can see the background stuff, and you can see the white butterflies. Because since they were stamped and removed from the picture here, then it did not have the butterflies there, so it shows through the white, which was already on the piece of paper. Okay, so I'm going to use my, I need to dry it just a little bit. Just a little bit. You'd be surprised how much just an ordinary fan flipping can dry that and get it dry enough to put your gold on so that it doesn't smear as much. And that looks pretty good, so we'll go with that. Okay, my gold is here. I'm going to start with it down. I think I'll start with it here. Just a little more. That's perfect. Might be a little too much actually, but we'll go with it. Go with the flow, as we say. I'm going to spread this out a lot first because we don't want to accidentally pick up stuff that's on our plate that's still wet, because if you roll your dry roller over it, you can sometimes pick up the paint that's still on your plate. If you've got a wet spot, sometimes it'll just pick it up instead of rolling something over the top of it. Okay, so once again, smooth out as much as we can. And we do have a lot of gold on here, so we will remove a little bit of that. And remove a little bit more of it. Okay, now I'm lightly rolling to try to get an even layer and try to get rid of all the lines that are in there. Okay, and that looks good, so let me roll this off on one of my roll-off sheets. And we're ready to pick it up with a plain piece of paper. And see what we get. Make sure you smooth it from the center out so that you get any air bubbles out of it. You don't want any air bubbles in there. And then firmly slide your hand across it a few times. You can kind of tell when it's picked up as much paint as it's going to pick up, because at first it will feel a little cold because it's wet under there. And then when it quits feeling so cold, then you know that the paint has dried some, and you should be picking up most of what you have there. very, very meditative type art to do, because you get to stop and kind of just think as you're sliding your hand across the page, and feeling the cool, and deciding if it's ready or not. And here we have my masterpiece. Not really. Excuse me. Right here is because it was too wet right there, and the colors smushed together, but I don't mind that too much. Down here it looks really cool with the gold shining through in places, the orange, and you've got different colors because your colors did mix some, the gold with the blue, to make kind of a green and so on. I think that one's acceptable. It's not the best one I've ever pulled, but it's not the worst either. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hope you enjoyed it. Please share, comment, any of those things. Goodbye now.